Keep your filter on.
Be careful what you say, right? All right, well, I'm welcoming Lindsay Lange to the podcast. I met Lindsay a couple of years ago when she attended a U conference as an attendee, and she stood out to me because she was busy. She was in the back of the room on her computer doing homework most of the time. So let's kind of go back a little bit. Lindsay, tell everybody what you do. Like, what's your job? What do you do right now?
Currently, I am a State Farm agent here in Marion, Iowa. I started my agency January 1st of 2020, which, seemed like a great year to start an insurance agency. And hindsight, it's kind of been a huge roller coaster ride. And I joke with my customers, like, I think I'm getting a master's degree in just crisis management this last year, because it has been just out of control.
Girl, when you get a normal year, what are you going to do?
I don't know. I like really, like, I'm to the point, because when we started, it was like, okay, I guess backing up, like, I have no insurance background. Like, I came like completely from the off the streets into insurance. I had to learn it all. So my first month, not only was like learning how to run a business, but it was also like learning how to do the day to day of insurance. And so it was complete chaotic. And so as soon as I started like feeling like I was getting grasping it and like, okay, guys, here we go. Like, we got this. It was like, oh, here's a worldwide pandemic for you. How are you going to handle this? And it was just so, I remember laying in bed thinking, what do I'm responsible for other people now. Like, these, I have employees to worry about, and my kids, and, all of this. And I just thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be so tough. And, had I known that that was going to probably be the easiest thing I dealt with last year. But yeah, the COVID and trying to, all of those things were new to everybody.
Right.
And then as a business owner, trying to figure out how to manage that as well.
Well, and a lot of people start in insurance. When they start as an agent in someone else's agency. So why are you not that smart?
Kendra, that is a great question. Hindsight, I don't know. I guess I guess backing up, like, I had a job, and it wasn't like, I wasn't passionate about it. It wasn't challenging me. And I kind of got to a point where I was very like struggling huge. Like, I was not I was not in love with it. I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I really struggled with it. To the point where I was having a lot of anxiety and depression. I didn't want to go to work, and that's not me. Like, I'm not ever one that doesn't go to work. And so,
well, before this, you were not an entrepreneur, right? You weren't working for yourself. Kind of. Well, you were. Yeah, that's right. I forgot you were working in direct sales too, right?
Yeah, I had a little direct sales company, like, and it's still, it's not huge. Like, I know lots of people that are doing theirs full time. I was just kind of side hustling mine. It was, paying for our vacations and cars, and, house payment. It helped us build a new house. And so it was a nice, like, little side hustle is what I called it. And I still call it that. But it makes money. But that was my only experience in running a business. And it was definitely not a brick and mortar.
Not the same at all, is it? I work in direct sales, as you know, and I am always telling people when they complain about things like the cost of doing business, like, what do you mean I have to pay for my subscription for my newsletter? Like you are getting off real easy.
Yes.
Like such small potatoes. And I mean, the reason I asked you on the podcast was, so I met you at the conference. You're in the back studying, working to get your life insurance or your agency, your insurance agent, like licensing, correct? That's right.
Well, so at that point, I had already, so last year, this was 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a bad spot. I wasn't looking for a job. I just kind of was like, I don't know what I want to do. And honestly, I was so stressed out over this. I had double ear infection, walking pneumonia, like I was in bed. And I remember laying there and I'm like, I can barely get out of bed. And I got an email. And that email was from State Farm. They were like, we are seeing you on LinkedIn and Facebook, and we're looking for somebody in the Marion community that's active and wants to be a leader with us. Would you mind talking to us? And I was like, I don't know about that. Like, I am not, I don't know anything about insurance, and I sure don't want to leave one job and work for somebody else, and that. And so I started that interview process, and soon realized that they didn't want me to work for someone. They wanted me to do it. And there were several hurdles that you had to overcome to get even to the interview process. Um, our My position that I have now, the interview process was like I started it the end of April of 2019, and I needed to be like site ready to interview by the first week of June. In order to do that, I had several tests that I had to take, like aptitude tests and different things online. And then I had to also get my license to sell insurance,
Wow.
life, health, property, casualty. On top of this was, I mean, the month of May. Anybody who has kids knows that that's in a regular year. It's absolutely crazy. Um, and we had softball, and I had
So you were
Sunspeak.
really starting this process like in the heat of like a busy year, but just a year before COVID was when you started.
Yeah, yeah. And I had no idea what I was getting into. But I was like, if I can pass this test, I'll keep going. And if I can pass this one, I'll keep going. And, then if I can get my licenses in time, it got to the point where I was supposed to interview and I didn't know if I was going to be ready the day before.
Oh,
Like I
wow.
didn't know if all of my licenses would be coming through. It was pretty nerve wracking, but then it was like, they called me and they're like, yeah, you're ready. Your interview is in Des Moines tomorrow. And, and I was just like, wow, like I did it. And I think like the biggest thing with that was like, okay, now I have to interview. Like I did all of this and now I still have to interview for it. And so it was just very, just a really huge challenge. And I remember the day they called me and they were like, we're going to offer you this because we've never seen anybody go through so many steps and want this that bad. And I was like,
That's insane. And you
yeah,
probably had no idea that you were doing anything special, I'm sure.
no, because I had nothing to compare it to.
Right.
Like, I didn't know anybody else that was interviewing or had ever interviewed or ever, I didn't know any insurance agents to even talk to learn anything really about, except for just, talking to people that I was just like knocking on doors and was like, hey, I'm interviewing for this job. Can I ask you some questions? So it
Wow.
was just kind of like, I don't know, just a whirlwind. Like some days I sit and think, gosh, if all of that were to happen today, would I still have the guts to go through all of it and do all of it? But I think that knowing all the things that happened my first year, I may not have, but I did. I came out on the other end,
Well, I
and
think like it sounds like that kind of, if you really would have known how hard it would be, you wouldn't probably have done it. And I think that goes for a lot of entrepreneurship. Like if we really knew all the things we were going to go through, would we just stay in our 9 to 5? And at the end of the day, we'll say no, but sometimes during the heat of times, it's crazy. So I watched you, like from my perspective, watched you finish that and open your agency, and we were all cheering you on, after meeting you at the conference. And that's, part of the whole thing at the with the
Yep.
conference is you got these people that show up and cheer you on. And then 2020 happens, and you start your agency, with 2020 vision, I'm sure.
Yes, yes. It's a whole new decade. It's gonna be awesome.
It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, wipe the slate clean, start new.
Yes, yes.
And then it just kind of, and I'm going to have you like tell us more details on a few things, but the pandemic happens. Obviously, we had huge hailstorms in those first few months of your business that I know is hard for an agent to have to take on right away. And then we had the Derecho, which was unprecedented, unseen, ununderstood. We won't go into so many details about that. But during all of that, not only are you opening your business, but you also went from like a conference attendee, which you still are, but to a sponsor, which was like, we were like, wow, this woman is starting a business, going through all of this crazy stuff, and she wants to sponsor this event. And that was really like, we're like, that's quite a circle for us to witness. So before you kind of go into some of these other details, I want to ask you about what made you decide to want to sponsor.
So I think that my biggest thing when I was thinking about doing this, it wasn't because I was like, initially I was not passionate about insurance or, the day-to-day thing. It was more how can I help my community and how can I be active in my community? And how can I set myself up to be like a better leader for my kids and things like that. And when I went to your conference the first time and watched while I was doing my homework, I was just like, gosh, we have got here in Cedar Rapids, we have so many amazing women that have such great stories and great just experiences to share. And I just knew that that was something that I wanted to be a part of. And, and I'm always the person that always signs up for way too much and does way too much. And you know how that is. But I think that with my last year, I couldn't be involved any other way than being a sponsor. And I've been so blessed that I, landed with the best company and the best leadership and the best coworkers that help support me. And I have the best team working for me. And it set me up for a lot of success. And I knew that I wanted just to turn around and feed that back into the community and help others set themselves up for success like that. Like it was a no-brainer to me. And my level of sponsorship was, the level that I could do this year. And I know that I will continue and do what I can to help do that support.
Well, that's so awesome. And it really does help. I mean, one of our, our mission really is to keep the entry level cost low. So people that really don't have the community can find it and can get it. And, people that can't, entrepreneurs or women, people that are just looking for more that don't have the budget to go travel to conferences or don't, that just that entry level, like, hey, this is for you too. Like you get this too. So it's so appreciated. And then seeing a business like brand new, I mean, your marketing dollars are precious at the beginning.
Yes.
And, when an organization that has thousands of dollars of marketing dollars to give, sponsors, we of course appreciate it. But when we see a new business that we know, like you have to count every penny. It really, every one of those dollars really means a lot to us. And of course we're like, wow, we hope we're a part of that success story for you, that like gaining that community and stuff. But so yeah, the trial by fire though didn't stop with all that with you. You had a lot of personal stuff go on in 2022 and not 2022, 2020 as well.
Yes.
Dear God, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
No, absolutely not. No.
Do you want to talk about any of that? Are you willing
Absolutely. to? I am very transparent in everything. So yeah, if I can talk about my experiences and help somebody, then yeah, I'm absolutely all about it.
Yeah, very cool. So one of the things that happened was you lost your mom really suddenly. Yeah. And of course, when you're a business owner and tragedy happens in any time, shape, or whatever, business still goes on and you have to figure it out. The thought of the heaviness of it being 2020 and all the things going on, and as a new business owner that's dealing with a pandemic. And what month did she pass?
November, the week before Thanksgiving. Yeah.
After the Derecho, after all of this stuff. Did it feel like, oh my God, it's one more thing?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I come December, I was like, how many more days are left of this year? Like, I don't know if I can make it. Like, it was just ongoing, like complete, like I kept thinking, what next, what next? And even like in my office, like after, COVID hit and we had all the craziness from that. And then we had, in April, we had a hailstorm that like just pounded Marion. And so like my customers, my phone rang off the hook for 3 days. And then we had another small one in July, and then a hailstorm, and then the derecho. And like throughout that, we're as a team, my office, we're trying to like avoid COVID and like balance all of that with because I mean my work family is young, and so they're going out and trying to live their life still, and I'm still trying to protect them and protect my family and my office and trying to keep everything going. And then it was like we were sitting there, and one of my staff and I were sitting in the office, and like we start hearing this and our phones are ringing off the hook, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I think we're in the middle of a tornado. And
Yeah.
like people are calling my cell phone to file claims as it's happening, and we have no idea what's going on. And it was just that amazing. And having to that very next day, I was like, I have to find somewhere with internet, because I know I have to get, like, people are trying to get a hold of us. And so I ended up going up to Central City and working from a friend's house and calling people on my cell phone. And I had books of notes of people that, like, I mean, even there was so many things that happened to people's homes and that they were experiencing that a lot of like state farm agents had never ever experienced. And here I am like 8 months in, and here I am doing all of that too. And so it
And I'm
was
in your community, your backyard is affected as well. And
mhm.
because you're an insurance agent, though, you've got to go to the work.
Yeah, yeah, it was hard because like leaving my house, I'm like, okay guys, I'm leaving. I don't know if my phone will die. I don't know if I can call you to see if you guys are okay.
Because we didn't
And
have
yeah,
phone service
yeah,
forever. Yeah.
like I'm gonna try to show up tonight, and here we are. And it was just, yeah, just thinking back, like, oh my gosh, what did we go through? But that was just so wearing, and not having power, and like emotionally listening to people's stories of like losing everything. It was like the flood all over times 100. And just sitting and crying with my customers, and
Taking on what they were feeling,
yeah,
I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was exhausting. And then
All while
going
being
home,
away from your family and away from
yeah,
your business.
yeah, yeah, and not being able to shower. Like that was my biggest thing, is like, I just want to wash this day off, and it wasn't leaving. And so, like, just after that, experiencing that, and I felt like, okay, like by October, like, oh, things are going well here. And like we've survived our year, and we were putting up really good numbers. Like my team is very successful. Our office as an office has been very successful through all of this. And I was at home and got a call from my sister, and she's like, you need to call mom. And it was a Sunday, and I called her, and she was like, I have cancer. And I, like, my mom, she rode with me to my interview in Des Moines. Like, I dropped her off at the mall, and in my interview, I talked about her, how she was there, and she was not going to leave Des Moines until they offered me a job. And like, she was my biggest cheerleader. Like, in all of these tests, she was the first call I made. She just, it was her. I mean, anybody that
Celebrated
knew
every
her,
moment
yeah,
with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
she was our support. And she was like, I have cancer. And I'm, what does that mean? Like, what kind of cancer do you have, mom? And at that point, like, I felt all year I had been here busy in my business, and I was not seeing her to protect her from COVID and
Oh,
all of those things, and didn't see any of these things, like her health deteriorate. And uh and she's like, I have to go for another scan, and I don't know. And just a lot of not her, like how she was talking. And so then later in that week, I called, because I talked to her every day, and she said, I fell this morning. And what does that mean? Like, what, you
How
fell?
old was your mom?
She was 66.
Okay.
And,
So, not like
no,
90-year-old grandma you
no,
expect to call and say she fell. Yeah.
no, absolutely not. Like, I'm like, what do you mean you fell? Like, and she's like, I just need to take a nap. And it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. And I called my staff immediately. I'm like, I'm going to my mom's. I don't know what's going on. I'm going there. I don't know when I'll be back. And I got there, and it, like, I hadn't seen her in a couple months, and just seeing her, she was so frail, and she had, her whole life she didn't want people to be bothered. Like, she was always the one taken care of, and she didn't need anyone to take care of her, and she didn't want us to worry, and all of those things. And so we took her in to the emergency room, and she yeah, they were like, she has cancer of the lungs, the bones,
Oh my
like
gosh.
her brain. Like, we can keep her comfortable, but you're probably looking at hospice. And it was just like,
Did it just feel like you got just kicked right in the head? I mean,
yes,
it had
yeah.
to.
Like, I kept thinking, like, all last year, I'm like, well, we made this, like, we did this, and we're still here. And like, hearing that, I'm like, I can't recover from this. Like, I don't know what to do. And it was completely overwhelming. And I have younger siblings, and then my dad is still alive, and a grandmother that my mom took care of. And it's just like, during all of that, I'm like, okay, like, she passed away, and I'm still doing all the things, and now I've got all of those things, and it
It
just
really
keeps
puts
like,
you in like a
yeah,
matriarch role in your family instantly, doesn't it? Like,
yeah,
just and you
yeah,
don't really think about that until I'm sure you're thrown into it. But I was just thinking, I have younger siblings as well, and I'm the oldest, and there is a level of responsibility that naturally comes with your birth order,
mhm,
and I was just thinking, oh gosh, like now you're in charge, and
yeah,
like,
yeah. Like, and she was, I mean, she was amazing. Like, she would make, like, the grandkids, all, like, they got to pick their cakes, and she would make them, like, if it was a mermaid cake, or if they wanted, like, four-tiered, like, castle, like, she was researching it and doing it. And it was just like, oh wow, what just happened? And so it's been a lot of learning, and just, I feel like, gosh, last year was a lot, and I came out on the other side. And like, through it all, I joke with my sales leader. I don't know if he'll ever listen to this or not, but like, I was just a temporary agent all of last year. Like, I was still, during all of that process, still interviewing for my job. They don't technically give you your contract, your lifetime contract, until you make it through your first year. And so I would joke with him that, like, I don't even know if I have a job next year. I'm just going to play it, like, the best I can, and keep going forward. And we joked about that. But in January, I finally got my final contract, and here, this is me the rest of my life now, doing this. So it's pretty. It was a big year over here.
yeah. Well, and I mean, I happen to know a little bit about State Farm in general. That my sister works for
Mhm.
corporate, which when you told me you were studying at that conference, when you're like, oh, I'm studying for this, thing I'm doing with State Farm. And I was like, oh, my sister works for their corporate office. And I introduced you guys briefly. Although when I asked her about that, she's like, I didn't realize it was State Farm. I just thought she was doing an insurance test. but, but State Farm is a really family focused
Oh
organization.
yeah.
And so I'm sure they gave you great support through that. And
Oh yeah. Like, I always, like, everything. I wasn't even looking for a job, and I landed with the best company in the best area, with the best, like support system. Just I don't know how it all worked in my favor. Like, the universe was really looking out for me in the last couple of years, and taking really good care of me, and making it happen.
right, I
So
think it's so interesting that with everything that you went through, and So it feels like everything was very sudden too. Like COVID was very sudden. The
Yeah.
storms are very sudden. Your mom's passing was very sudden, and like constantly making you, figure out how to deal with it and to pivot. It doesn't make though like the hard days of like of grief and overwhelm. I know I actually was just in a networking meeting this morning with another insurance agent, and he was just like, I think the heaviness of the last 6 months was just kind of like starting to, come to the surface. How are you feeling about all of that for you? Or is it
Yeah,
still a lot?
it is. It's still a lot. I definitely have my days. Like I will have like, I carry a lot of energy. I'm usually very positive, very energetic. I'm the one that picks everybody up. And like just like on Monday, I went home and I'm like, all I want to do is lay in bed and cry.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's a lot. And just some days I feel exhausted, and I'm very grateful that I have people around me that can see that I'm going through that, and that's what I need, is to take a step back and take a break, because I'm not good at telling myself that. I like to challenge myself and be at the top and do all of the things and take care of everybody. And I need somebody to check in with me and put me in my place when I need it. So I've been very lucky for that.
And you've
But
got kids at home too, right?
I do. I
How
have
old are your kids? What
oh
grade?
goodness, I have two girls. Darby will be 13 next month, and Tamsin just turned 9 in November.
Okay, yeah,
So
I'm living in a real similar world with two girls, and not that it's not. I mean, kids are not good or bad necessarily, but the challenge of the kids stuff in the virtual school or the in-person
oh,
school, and
yep,
making all of those right choices, and
yep,
it's 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 a lot. And of course, in the
yep.
last few weeks here in our area, we're getting, like, I just looked out the window, we're getting hammered by another storm I
I
see is
know,
starting.
I
And that,
know.
that makes life interesting for you too. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I hope for you, and I'm sure looking back, in 5 years, looking back, in 10 years, looking back, even probably in 1 year, looking back, you'll know that what you're made of because of what
Yeah,
you've been able to get through. I think that as a business owner, it doesn't really matter if it's like all of this, like, you know, if you want to compare, you
uh-huh.
might get the crown for the most.
That's a thing. Yes,
But
I definitely like that.
yeah. I think there is a crown somewhere that they give you. They're like, wow, you went through the most crap. Congratulations. um, but I think all bad circumstances show you what you're made of for
Yeah.
sure. But it's funny because even like the lesser of the bad circumstances always feel really big and heavy in the moment. Like this is
Oh, yeah.
this is the worst thing I'm going to go through. You probably said at every turn.
That was my theme for 2020.
And yeah, and it's so funny when you said you were just counting down the last days. A lot of people, there's a lot of conversations about that at the end of 2020, and a lot of people are like, just because the calendar changes doesn't mean anything changes, and it doesn't. But there's a bit of a mindset about a new year that just
Yeah.
feels fresh, and sometimes you need that. Like, and
Mhm.
then I can't even imagine. So then you had to go through the holidays without mom, who
Yeah.
probably did everything right.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. It
I'm
was,
sure.
yeah. Yeah. It was a very different experience. And I think that what we've kind of taken away from, all of last year was to just create like new things. So for Christmas this year, my sister and I made food. Like my mom she would have spent 3 weeks planning and cooking and cookies, and like she would make like 10 different kinds of cookies for us, and it was just out of control. My sister and I whipped up Christmas lunch in like her little kitchen, and the biggest success was nobody got sick. And it was just like we did it. Like everybody everybody made it, nobody got sick. We had a dog that tried to eat the turkey, but it didn't get it, so we were good. And so
That's
it's
fun.
just we're kind of just getting through the new. And I think that with everything of last year, that's just kind of been the theme for everyone is, what does our new life look like after COVID? And like at what point will we be comfortable going out and doing things again? And how do we make our business and our life's work without, and manage all of this other stuff and keep moving forward.
Yeah. How
So
would you say there was, I mean, you kind of like figure out coping mechanisms as you go through hard times. And I'm sure mom was part of those coping mechanisms for you until she wasn't.
yeah.
And so, like another pivot there. But have you found that there was anything, any resource or any action that you took that was able to like pick you back up? Because you can't stop answering the phone, right? Like the way your business works, you have no choice but to pick up that phone.
Yep. And to be there.
Yeah.
We're always there. You usually don't talk to your insurance agent unless you're having a bad day or, you're at your worst. So it has been a difficult year, experiencing and having, both sides of it, being the person that is having the worst day and having to put on a good face for everybody. And then also like keeping strong to carry others through their worst day. And it's just, I think that the biggest thing that I look forward to is laughing and making jokes. And like I have lots of friends that we crack each other up. Like I will be in tears laughing or just, just having a good time and making the best out of it because, we're not able to change what we're doing or derechos or, what we're experiencing. We have to make the best out of it and change our perspective on it. So I think that's been my best like coping mechanism is just to keep moving forward and do make the best out of it because it will pass and we'll just keep going.
Right. And I mean, yeah, I was just thinking like, here all these things are going on in your personal life, and then you're having to, get on the phone with a customer who probably has no idea that you've, lost a parent.
Yeah.
And then you have to make their problem the priority of the moment.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
how many times have you wanted to be like, oh, I'm so sad for your bumper? I mean, not that you would say it, but I'm sure it had to feel that way sometimes.
Yes, actually, like I'm looking forward to those calls where it's just a bumper and not like I have a 4-ton tree through my roof.
Oh,
So it's just I think that I haven't had as many of those like little calls as I'm looking forward to next year. Because
well, it just sounds like you'll be able, I mean, they say don't sweat the small stuff, and you'll never have a year where, if it's just a bunch of fender benders that
yeah.
like those won't stress you out. Like
Mm-mm.
you've already got through that.
Yes, we have learned how to
Well,
maintain.
one other thing, and because my sister works in the insurance industry and I network with a lot of insurance agents, I know what happens to them as far as, as soon as a customer's not happy, man, you
Mhm.
are dog shit, and so is your company, and so is everybody, and no matter how hard you're trying. And sometimes people make, there's user errors, there's
Yeah.
errors
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
You have to rely on a lot of different things. But that can be really tough too. You really picked an industry where it's really easy to be dogged on, dude.
Well, and I don't know if you've noticed the majority of the people that are in my industry don't look like me. Very male, older. We have a lot of agents that have been doing this for 20, 30 years. And when I took over my book of business, a lot of them had never had a female agent. And so, I walked into like I remember that first month where I like had just a line of people wanting to meet me or interview me to see if I knew what I was talking about, or just to feel it out and see if this was where they wanted to stay. So it was a lot of hurdles to overcome.
No
And
kidding.
yeah, it's been it was a year for sure. And the things I kept thinking like what doesn't kill me this year will make me stronger. And like it did. Like I am very prepared to be questioned about anything now. You know, I have lots of customers that come in and, you know, they're ready to, you know, if you can't do this, then I have to go, or I'm going to switch companies. And, you know, I'm just getting like, I'm so used to it, or not used to it, but like, it doesn't give me anxiety like it used to. And my customers know that I am here to help them. And I have been over backwards through the derecho and done everything that I could. And, like I like it's my State Farm family now. Like
Yeah.
we came through a huge event and we made it on the other end. So
Well, thank God you've got employees to kind of have your back, because I can't even, I mean, I can't imagine going through that without somebody. You know, it's one thing to have friends and spouses and support, but people that are in the trenches with you understand things
mhm.
differently.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
and yeah, so that's amazing.
absolutely. Yeah,
I,
I have had the best staff this whole year. Like we laugh together, we hang out after hours, we um well, when I say we cry, I cry and they make fun of me because I'm definitely more emotional than they are. But we have a good time, and I think that has been a lot of me getting through my year because I had that support system, and they were there for me, and we had each other. So I think it was huge to have
oh, that's
them.
cool. What
So
does, I mean, not that you want to make too many goals and plans for anything, because God knows that's not a, I don't think we're in the clear on that yet
yeah.
now. But you know, I found it very interesting that you said your, you know, you didn't have a passion in insurance, and you know, a lot of times they say find something you're passionate about and then make a business out of it.
Yep.
Um, but you were passionate about serving your community, and I thought that was really a powerful statement. That sometimes, if that is your passion, like there's a lot of ways to do it, and a lot of different business models in which to do it.
Yep.
And I mean, good for you for picking the hardest one, I feel.
I'm really good at doing that in life, like taking the hard road and seeing if we can manage through it.
Yeah. And I'm sure your, you know, your clients and are or your customers, however you refer to them, are happy to have you in the community. I know it's been really fun to see you out and about and like really present in the community as you know, representing yourself and the company and what you do for people. And that's, I mean, that's really important, especially when we've been through what we have. And you know, showing up as a sponsor, you know, every time we've had a meeting and, you know, oh, Lindsay Lange's going to sponsor again. We're like, wow, that's, it's amazing to have that support for
Yeah.
our, on our end as well. And
Yeah.
we take that really seriously.
Yeah.
So, so thank you for believing in us like that, and you
Yeah.
know, spending those marketing dollars there. We hope we are able to, you know, give you that kick, a boost in your business as well.
Yeah,
And I was
absolutely.
excited to have people just kind of hear your story and meet you along the way. You know, your story is really what you conferences strives to be about, you know, to be inspired and to have the community to back you up, to feel like you can do anything,
Mhm.
and then come back around and, you know, sponsor the next, or, you know, help the next group of women do the
Yeah.
same. And,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that's really what sponsoring looks like. So, so thank you so
Yeah.
much. Um,
No, I'm
I,
excited to watch it grow and really take off. Like I just
it's,
it was amazing to me the first time I went, like just how many people in just little our community that are so just amazing, and that I just like inspired me to, you know, do stuff, and just I am so intrigued with their stories and stuff, and it's
yeah.
amazing, and it's so good to help, you know, be there to watch them grow too.
Yeah. And how would we have an opportunity to meet all these people otherwise? I mean,
No, yeah.
you got to get them all in the room at once and just quickly figure it
Hmm.
out, and yeah, and go
Yeah.
through it. And
Yeah.
it's neat. And I am very much, I'm sure like you, looking forward to not growing a business in a pandemic. I will appreciate things much differently.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like I just keep thinking like I'm a real like people person. Like I want to do events, I want to be out in the public and all of that. And I kept saying last year, like if we can do this without doing events or actually seeing people and being like able to be around people, then once we're able to get out, we're gonna do really well. I really look forward to being like a part of, you know, any like nonprofits and teaming up and raising money and doing what we can to help the community. And I just feel like this last year, it was really hard for us with the limitations we had with COVID and things. So
Right.
I feel like
Well,
we're just getting started here. So
yeah, we're not going to sleep in 2022 either.
yeah.
Because we're going to have to make up for all this.
Yes, we have a lot of ground to make up for not. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing all of your insight and for sharing a little bit of your story. I think it's important, and I think the other side of the story that I hope gets told in these podcasts is that, you know, all these business owners are out there hustling. Like, we're all very human. And
Yeah.
everybody is very human and going through very human and sometimes really hard things. And I think these kind of bring out that, like, okay, you know, and maybe the next person, you know, somebody that watches this and has something tragic happen in their life, you know, can look back and be like, all right, if Lindsay Lange can make it through 2020, I can make it through whatever. You know, we no longer say if Britney Spears can make it through 2007.
Yes.
Lindsay Lange in 2020.
Yes, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to our podcast now. So we'll just say goodbye to everybody on
Bye,
here.
everybody. Thank